Hey guys, I wanted to do a quick comparison between the Imalent HT70 and my Sofirn HS21. I think there are some similarities definitely between both of these lights. I wouldn't say one is better than the other, but yeah, this video is going to help you out if you're deciding between a multifunctional headlamp, something that has, different LEDs in it, because the usual headlamp just has one LED in it and yeah, basically covers all purposes. So firstly, let's talk about the overall construction quality. Okay, now both of these are, I would say they're constructed pretty well. Okay, but if I was to sort of look at them both side by side, the HT70 has definitely got an edge. Okay, I like the anodizing better. The machining, the quality of it just feels a little more premium. And of course, you're going to be paying more for it. Okay, and the headband as well, this is going to be could be a deal breaker for some of you guys out there, but the Imalent headband is just, it's obviously superior. It's thicker, it's got a lot more surface area that's gripping onto your head. When you pull the thing as well, it doesn't, it takes a little bit of effort to pull it apart, whereas with the Sofirn one, it's got this sort of slinky kind of feel to it. Okay, it does okay, given that you've got the HS21 on it, which isn't as heavy as the HT70. If you're putting a 21700 cell light on this, it'd probably be moving around a little bit, especially because it doesn't have this grippy silicon strip here. This really helps to keep the light on your head, and also kind of keeps the sweat from coming down as well if you use this thing for running. In terms of the LEDs, let's have a look down the bezel, or the bezels for both of these lights. But yeah, it's a different configuration, but essentially on the HT70, you've got red LEDs, you've got the main spot LED, which is an XHP 50.3, and then you've got these couple of floody white LEDs to the right, and it's like a frosted, kind of like a frosted lens there. It's a glass lens for those kind of floodier auxiliary LEDs, and you've got a normal glass lens at the front. This here is a kind of combo TIR lens. Okay, you've got an SFT40 in the center, and you've got a combination of three white and three red LEDs. Okay, sort of quite floody. And in order to select between all the modes, there's quite a different system as well. So the HS21, you've got this rotary system. So you press down and we'll basically go to turn on the light first with that button, but then you can switch between the different modes just by rotating the head. And I really like this design. It makes it so easy to switch between modes, and especially when you're wearing gloves, to actually grip this thing and change modes. Whereas the HT70, you've also got this mechanical switch, so you can turn on the light, and there's 3 pivot points. Very simple. If you want to go to either flood modes here for the red and the white flood modes, it's either left or right, and then a little push to the center for this spot beam. And yeah, with the LEDs as well, one thing to keep in mind is, okay, you're going to have a lot better output with the HT70, so 3,500 lumens compared to like 2,000 lumens of the HS21. But the HS21 is going to throw, significantly further. And I tried this out before, and you will see the beam shots at the end of this video. Even with the smaller TIR lens in there, it outthrows the HT70. And yeah, that's as expected. The SFT40, smaller die LEDs, they generally throw further. But yeah, I think the HT70 with the XHP 50.3 high just produces a great balanced beam. So it's very throwy, 200 meters, but also produces a ton of spill. So yeah, it's also, I think, a more efficient way of, in terms of the UIs, they're both pretty simple to use. So with the HT70, you just turn on with that side switch, and then what you can do is just press and hold to go sort of toggle between different modes, sort of go higher, so these steps there, same thing here. Okay, click once to turn off, but this top switch just goes in between the different modes. Whereas with the HS21, it's pretty much the same thing, except you're rotating this instead of just a switch with 3 pivot points. You rotate this and there's multiple pivot points on here. You can also have the flood and throw mode activated at the same time, which makes it really bright. And yeah, just kind of press and hold that button to toggle between the different brightness settings as well. So which one should you get? Okay, the HT70 is going to set you back, you know, significantly more than the HS21. HS21 is technically considered to be a budget headlamp, but I think the HS21 overall is just the better value headlamp. If you're looking for the better value headlamp, maybe you don't want to spend too much. It's got a regulated driver, same as the HT70, which is unseen in a lot of these budget headlamps. Okay, you've got all these different LEDs in there for, you know, multiple modes. 18650, got to mention 18650 battery compared to a 21700 cell battery, so it's not going to have as much runtime as the 21700 HT70. Okay, but it's also going to be lighter. The HS21 also is a throwier headlamp, so yeah, if you do need a headlamp that has better long range performance, HS21 is the one for you. Okay, in terms of the HT70, if you're someone who's looking for just a bit more refinement, attention to detail, you know, like I mentioned, this band here is so much better. It's so much more sturdy compared to the Sofirn band, which in comparison feels a little flimsy. But, you know, considering that you're carrying around 18650 light, you can get away with it. But for a 21700 cell light that's as heavy as this one at 200 grams, I think Imalent have done an excellent job with this, you know, with this headband. It's, you know, it's probably one of the best headbands that I've used personally. So yeah, overall quality I would say is better on the HT70, but it's not going to throw as far as the HS21. It's obviously going to cost more, and these floodlights here on the side as well are not as bright. They're not anywhere near as bright as the HS21 floodlights, the red and the flood mode. So yeah, overall, if you're using that one, that LED in the center though, it's going to produce way more light than the HS21. But yeah, it really depends on what you're looking for. I hope this video did help you out a bit, and I'll also have some beam shots now just to show you how they perform side by side. Imalent HT70 to the Sofirn HS21. So the HT70 here to the left, and that's on turbo, and HS21 to the right. So look, you can definitely see the difference with the HS21 out throwing by a significant margin here, but the HS21 does not produce as much light. And apologies if I'm shaking around a little bit, there's just mozzies everywhere, and I did spray myself before I went out, but that doesn't seem to be really detracting them for some reason. But yeah, HS21, and then you've got the HT70 here. So I'll say the HT70 just produces a much wider beam, lots of light, you know, maybe double the light even of the HS21. So if you don't need the extra throw, I would say that the HT70 is a better overall option, just for the overall brightness and that wide beam as well. Whereas the HS21 here to the right doesn't produce as much light, but a really nice hotspot for the spot beam. But when you compare the flood beam of both, you'll see it makes a huge difference with the HS21 here. Just pop on the flood beam, a lot more light, lots of throw. And if we compare that now to the HT70, you can see it only really goes up into the foreground here, but it does not go as far, nowhere near as far as the HS21 here to the right. So quite a big difference. If you need a proper floodlight, the HS21 is the light to go for. But yeah, I still like the floodlight of the HT70,
it's just more for, you know, short to medium range usage. And that's the red light as well. There are 3 modes on there. That's high, so that's really the highest it's going to go, illuminating the foreground, but not really those rocks in the distance. I'd say maximum 5 meters, 4 to 5 meters. This is the white light, similar sort of deal there. I was trying to get this to show up a bit earlier in that other beam shot, but yeah, it's only going to show up like this.